Imagine a device so addictive that users nicknamed it BlackBerry. In the early 2000s, this wasn't just a mobile phone. It was an elite status symbol. If you were a Wall Street investment banker, a Fortune 500 CEO, or a high-ranking government official, you did not use a standard phone. You carried a BlackBerry. At its absolute peak, the company behind it, Research in Motion, controlled over 50% of the entire global smartphone market. They had a valuation pushing past $100 billion. Their security encryption was so notoriously bulletproof that even the President of the United States, Barack Obama, refused to surrender his device to the Secret Service. The company's founders, Mike Lazaridis and Jim Balsillie, had built what appeared to be an unassailable tech monopoly. Their secret weapon wasn't just a physical QWERTY keyboard that allowed users to type emails at lightning speeds. It was the BlackBerry Messenger Network, or BBM. BBM was the world's very first exclusive social media network, locked tightly inside a hardware ecosystem. If you had a BlackBerry, you were part of an elite, secure global club. The cash flow was endless. The profit margins were staggering. The founders believed they had solved the mobile equation forever. But in corporate history, the moment an empire believes it is completely invincible is precisely when the ground begins to crumble beneath its feet. The date was January 9, 2007. Steve Jobs walked onto a stage in San Francisco, slid his hand into his pocket, and pulled out a smooth piece of glass. The iPhone had arrived. Back in Waterloo, Canada, the co-CEOs of BlackBerry watched the keynote presentation. Their initial reaction wasn't fear. It was laughter. Mike Lazaridis, the brilliant engineering mind behind BlackBerry, looked at the iPhone and dismissed it as an impractical, battery-draining toy. From an engineering perspective, the iPhone made no sense to them. It lacked a physical keyboard, which BlackBerry believed was essential for professional typing. It routed all of its data through a standard web browser, which Lazaridis knew would cripple AT&T's cellular networks. BlackBerry's entire empire was built on data efficiency. Their phones sent tiny, compressed text files that barely touched network bandwidth. The iPhone was trying to put a full desktop computer into a pocket, pulling massive, uncompressed data streams. BlackBerry's leadership made a fatal assumption: they believed their customers were institutions, not individuals. They believed that IT managers at major banks and government agencies would never allow their employees to use an unsecure, touchscreen device that ran out of battery life in less than a day. What they failed to see was the upcoming consumer revolution. Employees didn't want to carry a boring, secure enterprise device for work and a separate media player for home. They wanted a single device that could do everything. The iPhone shifted the phone from a simple communication tool into an open-source software platform. While Apple was building an app store ecosystem, welcoming thousands of external software developers, BlackBerry remained a closed, paranoid loop. By 2008, the laughter in the BlackBerry boardroom had died completely. The iPhone was selling millions of units, and network providers were begging BlackBerry for a competitive answer. Terrified of losing their market dominance, the co-CEOs ordered an emergency response. The result was the BlackBerry storm. The storm was a rushed, panicked disaster. Attempting to mimic Apple's touchscreen while preserving their typing legacy, BlackBerry engineered a screen that physically clicked down when pressed. The software was riddled with bugs, the touch interface lagged, and the mechanical screens broke by the thousands. Verizon, the network provider that launched the device, ended up demanding over $500 million in refunds and replacements. The BlackBerry storm didn't just fail, it shattered the company's reputation for flawless engineering. While BlackBerry scrambled to fix their hardware, a new threat emerged from Silicon Valley: Google's Android operating system. Android provided every other phone manufacturer on Earth with a free, highly capable touchscreen platform. Suddenly, BlackBerry wasn't just fighting Apple, they were fighting Samsung, HTC, Motorola, and a wave of cheap Chinese manufacturers. The trap was closing. BlackBerry's market share began to slide down a steep cliff. Yet, even as the ship took on water, the executives made one final, catastrophic mistake regarding their most valuable digital asset, BBM. In 2010, WhatsApp was a tiny, struggling startup. BlackBerry possessed BBM, which still had tens of millions of hyperloyal active users. Management had a golden opportunity to release BBM as a free, standalone application for iOS and Android devices, effectively cornering the global instant messaging market before anyone else could move. But management refused. They chose to keep BBM locked exclusively to BlackBerry hardware, hoping it would force teenagers and professionals to keep buying their phones. It was an expensive gamble that backfired completely. Users abandoned BBM en masse, migrating to WhatsApp and Apple's iMessage. By the time BlackBerry finally relented and released BBM to other platforms in late 2013, it was far too late. The world had moved on. Between 2011 and 2013, BlackBerry went through one of the most violent value destructions in corporate history. They laid off thousands of workers, wrote off billions of dollars in unsold inventory, and watched their global smartphone market share plummet from 50% down to less than 1%. The co-CEOs resigned in disgrace, leaving a hollowed-out corporate shell behind. Today, BlackBerry no longer makes mobile phones. The company shifted entirely into a mid-sized cybersecurity and automotive software business. The $100 billion smartphone empire had vanished into thin air. The tragedy of BlackBerry wasn't a lack of brilliant engineering talent. It was a classic case of corporate hubris. They fell in love with their past success, fundamentally misunderstood their changing customer base, and assumed their historical dominance guaranteed a future. In the fast-moving arena of global tech and economics, the moment you stop evolving is the exact moment you begin to go extinct.